Hey guys, this is Serath from Defection Gaming, bringing you a Neith gameplay in the mid lane. Now, I enjoy Neith in the mid lane. I think she's very strong in the mid lane. I think that it is potentially she is potentially the best physical carry mid lane, purely because she's able to engage so well, push so well, and sustain so well. So I think she needs to... I think when you're facing her in mid lane, you need to be very, very careful. However, that is not the reason why I'm doing this commentary. That was just why I'm that. While this commentary is going on, I'm going to... while this gameplay is going on, I mean, I'm going to be discussing the new patch. It hasn't come out yet, so I'm just going to be discussing Poseidon and sort of how he fits in and how well he does and what I think he's going to be able to do. Poseidon's turned out to be pretty interesting, really. His passive is called Changing Tides, where his movement speed increases and his abilities do additional damage to his tide as his tide levels increases. Successful basic attack hits increases his tide level and his abilities decreases it. So that's sort of like an interesting, different sort of, because it's probably going to be the same as Ra. It's probably only going to have about 15% movement speed at top level, and probably not that much extra damage. But it's going to be pretty interesting. And the thing that abilities soak up some of the potential tide level is I think very, very relevant and interesting, and I like it. I really like it as an ability. It's a bit like Bacchus's. You have a meter that fills up as you attack, and it decreases over time. So yeah, it's I think quite interesting. Depending on how much damage it does, we don't actually have the exact numbers at the moment. I think they were still that cheeky little Ra. I think they were still figuring all that out as it was as they were doing it, but we'll have to see where it goes. Now, his first ability, his number 1, is called Tidal Surge. Poseidon summons forth a wave, a bit like a mini Hebo ult, that travels in a line, dealing damage and pushing back all enemies in its path. The damage is 80, 120, 160, 200 and 240 at top end, with 70% of your magical power contributed. The cost is 110 mana. At max level and only 70 at the start, but still a considerable amount. The cooldown is 12 seconds, and the tidal meter is minus 35% when this ability is used. So a third of the meter will go down per ability. As an ability, it's pretty good. It will probably be able to destroy enemies in mid lane. Enemies in there. It'll probably be able to destroy creep really well. In terms of comboing well with his other abilities, this one doesn't seem to be the combo that was designed. He's not really a combo character, really. It's not designed to work well with his other abilities. It sort of pushes everyone away, which isn't exactly what Whirlpool and Trident want. But it's probably going to be a very decent minion tier ability, and it's got the same range and radius as Ra's Celestial Beam. So you'll have a good idea of how it's going to be affected if you play Ra. It's all as Ra's ability, it's almost exactly the same, except it has a slightly longer cooldown of 2 seconds longer than Ra's Celestial Beam, and it does 30 damage less at top level. So we'll be able to see that later and see how well that is. I think it's still going to be pretty good as an overall ability. His second ability is called Trident. Now this one is one I think might be potentially the overpowered ability he has. Poseidon activates his Trident, granting movement speed and making his basic attacks fire 2 additional shots in a spread for 6 seconds, a bit like a shotgun. The shots deal magical damage plus 20% of Poseidon's magical power. The base damage per hit is 30, 40, 50, 60 and 70. So at the end, the top end, you're doing 70 per hit. So if you hit all 3 of the damaging hits, then that's 210 extra damage, which is pretty good. All shots increase Poseidon's tide on successful hit. His movement speed goes up by 15, 20, 25, 30 and 35%. So top end, you're moving pretty damn quickly. Extra 35% for 6 seconds is not bad at all. And the lifetime is 6 seconds, obviously. The tidal meter is obviously, again, minus 35% when you cast it. However, each hit will gain tide. So it's probably a way of increasing your tide very, very quickly. Now, I don't think that your abilities won't fire when you don't have tide. I think that when you go all the way to the bottom, it's just ended. I don't think that if you don't have a certain amount of tide, you won't be able to fire abilities. I just think that the damage of the abilities won't be maximum. Now, anyway, this is me just trying to snipe over the right lane to see if they're engaging, but they weren't. Anyway, so the reason I think this one might be a bit... this one could be broken is the fact that it does 210 at max level with 20% of your extra Poseidon magical power per hit. So it actually does 60% extra. Now this is me trying to help them engage on the left lane, but anyway, it does extra. It does extra damage, a huge amount of extra damage, and that could be absolutely devastating. Because if you're ganking coming in on a mage from the back, say, you place down your whirlpool cooldown, which roots people in place, and then you just hammer them in the back with all of these damaging hits. It could be very, very, very dangerous, and I'm not entirely sure how overpowered and dangerous that's going to be, but I think it could potentially be really, really strong. We'll have to see, but yeah, it's not too bad at all, that ability. It doesn't really tie in with what I thought Poseidon would be. I mean, I knew he was going to be a mage, but I thought like that his trident would shoot lightning, not just extra attacks. But no, each to his own, not too bad. They might, they probably won't change it to lightning, and they'll probably keep it the same. But you know, it's a good thing to happen. Now, the last thing about the trident ability is the interesting cooldown periods. So the first cooldown at that minimum level is 20 seconds. It goes all the way down to a max level of 12 seconds. So your half of the time you're alive, you can have your trident giving you extra movement speed at the end. I think this is probably not a good thing. Its mana is only 85, so if you've got a giant mana pool, then it'll be quite easy to keep that up. So skillful people might just be able to kite the entire game, and could be very, very dangerous. But we'll have to just see how it's used. But at the moment, I do think that it might be too good of a skill. But it's just something that we'll have to see. Anyway, his third ability is called Whirlpool, and this is his sort of CC ability. It's sort of a mini Hades ult. Poseidon summons a whirlpool on his ground target location, the same size as Ra's Solar Blessing, that cripples targets, preventing movement abilities, and pulls targets towards the center, dealing magical damage every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds. Reduces Poseidon's tide by 30% when cast. The damage is 10 at the minimum level, going up by 15, 20, 25 and 30, plus 10% of your magical power. The tide meter is minus 30, the cost is 80, 90, all the way up to 120 at the max level, and the cooldown is 15, leaving a second each time to go down to 11 seconds. So, all in all, an interesting amount of information there. So it's a small Hades ult that prevents people from using movement abilities out of it. Whether that includes leaps and dashes, I don't know. It may include leaps and dashes. If it does, I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I don't think it will include leaps. I think it might include dashes, but I don't think it will include leaps. But I'm not entirely sure what this new cripple effect is. We'll have to play test it a bit more as it happens. Now, yeah, so this is the one I'm looking forward to the most in terms of combination with other gods. I mean, it will be a very interesting potential deadly lane. I mean, because it's a 3-second engulfing ability, so it could mean that you can have Zeus's ultimate a bit like Odin, but instead of them not being able to leap or jump out, they won't be able to and instead of not being able to escape it that way, you could put it down, stop people from leaving, and Zeus could do his ultimate on top and guarantee getting 3 hits. So that is just one basic combination you can do. I can think of loads, and Anubis would work really, really well. Any physical carry would work. It'd be absolute dream for any physical carry. Most tanks would work brilliantly with him. He's a very good. It seems like an incredibly useful support skill, and incredible in team fights, it seems. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be absolutely magical. And basically be Poseidon's... I think it's going to be Poseidon's sort of... The reason why people will have him in a team composition is for his Whirlpool ability. Now, talking about really good abilities. His final ability, his ultimate, is called Release the Kraken. Poseidon releases the Kraken, damaging and slowing targets in its radius. Enemies in the center of the effect will, when it spawns, take additional damage and are stunned and bounced into the air. The damage of the whole radius is about the same size as an Odin's ult, and then in the middle of it, it's got another small circle, which is about the same size again of Ra's Solar Blessing. So you'll be able to do some decent things with it. So anyway, the damage of the bigger area, is 120, 150, 180, 110 and 240. So it's doing the same damage to everyone as a Tidal Surgeon. So it's not too bad, plus 30% of your magical power, which isn't too brilliant. But it's over a huge area. So it will be able to hit everyone and absolutely everything in the team fight. So it'll be pretty good that way. The damage in the centre is 180, 220, 260, 300, 340, plus 60% of your magical power. And the slow is on the outside is for 30% over 2 seconds, and the stun in the centre is for 1 second, going up to 2 seconds. And it minuses 50% of your tidal meter. And it costs 140 mana, but mana doesn't really matter. The cooldown is only 90 seconds. Which seems to be a very standard cooldown that they're putting on the gods when they start their ultimates, and then sort of balancing them, seeing if they need to be a little bit less, a little bit more. But really, this is gonna be an excellent teamfight ultimate, and because the cooldown is so low, only 90 seconds, you'll be able to use it on every single team fight. So you'll be able to do quite a lot of damage, especially from the centre. Now, in the it looked amazing, and I can't wait to use this on people. Hopefully when the patch comes out later today. But yes, it looked so much fun and so amazing that I'm really quite excited, really quite excited to use it. It did 1,000 damage to a Hades in the review Smite trailer that they did for it. I think that's probably a Hades with no magical defense. However, it's still 1,000 damage. It's still an Ao Kuang. It's still doing the same much as an Ao Kuang ultimate, really, at the top end. So it could be quite dangerous. I don't think it'll be as deadly as it looked in the trailer. I think that was made to make it look a bit stronger, or made in a time where it was stronger. Because 340 plus 60% of magical power doesn't seem to be that incredible. It's probably going to be 500, 600 at the top end, which isn't too bad. 500, 600 at the top end is still, in an AoE, is still very good. AoE to an entire team fight. That's everyone takes a quarter of HP, which is good. It's just really good. So and a 2-second stun and a 30% slow. So it's strong. It's really strong. It doesn't say that it has a ramp-up time, and it didn't seem to have a big ramp-up time, but I think summoning the Kraken might change in terms of how long it takes, because it did seem to be very, very quick in the preview, so I'm not sure it will stay like that, but we'll have to see. So all in all, I think Poseidon is going to be, again, they've outdone themselves. Hi-Rez, I applaud you. Thank you so much for making the last few gods that came out absolutely fantastic. They've all brought something new and interesting. Vulcan's brought turrets, Neith's brought sniping across the end of the map, Chibalanke brought the that ultimate, which is incredibly annoying but fun. And you've made Poseidon now, who releases the Kraken and kills everything in the world. I just love what they're doing with the gods. They're being so creative and making a game which we can be proud almost to play. And I'm so happy and glad about that, because I love this game, and I really hope it does better than League, because I think this is a better game than League. I really do. Because it is skill shot based and is more difficult and I think possibly more competitive. But we'll just have to see where they go. I really am really happy with the way Smite's going. I couldn't be more happier with Hi-Rez. But anyway, just as Poseidon as a god, let's stop being a Hi-Rez fanboy and just say he's a very interesting god. He seems to be very manoeuvrable, a bit like he's going to seem to be a bit like Chibalanke. He's going to dash about the place, doing lots of stop-start movement speed things. He's going to be very quick on his feet. I'm pretty sure he's going to be difficult to catch. Roots will be your absolute fear. So I think the best thing to do with him is to not get sprint, but probably to get beads and Aegis Amulet will probably be the best things to combine with him. I think because of his movement speed, you can probably go absolutely full-out DPS and have hardly any tank at all, and you'll be able to put out a huge amount of AoE damage in team fights, while still being able to keep your survivability up because you're able to use your movement speed to run away so effectively. So that's the hope, anyway, of how I think he's going to run. I think his Tidal Surge doesn't really combine well with his Whirlpool, but I think Whirlpool and Trident, his number 2 and his 3 abilities, will combine really well together. If you can catch 2 people in that, then hammer them both with your basic attacks that do quite a lot of damage for 6 seconds, I'm pretty sure you can do. You can probably get 6 attacks off. That's just, you know, 1 a second. If you could probably even do an attack speed build with him, which would be so interesting. I think it'd be so much fun to do an attack speed build, and I like it when there are chances to do things like that in the game. It's just a bit of fun. But anyway, so yeah, I think Trident and Whirlpool work really well together. I think Trident and Whirlpool, including Release the Kraken, all will work really well in terms of damaging and doing lots of things. Tidal Surge kind of moves away from that, but I think if they gave him another kind of CC control, keep people in place ability, or just a straight out damaging ability, it would have made his abilities seem too strong. I say that because if you have your Whirlpool activated, you hit Tidal Surge on everyone, which is essentially doing the same damage as your ultimate. You hit your Tidal Surge on every single person in that Whirlpool, 2 or 3 people. You then activate your Trident and hammer them with that. They are taking damage from your Trident, your Whirlpool, and your Tidal Surge, and they won't be able to do much about it. By them putting the Tidal Surge as a knockback, it means that you can't do what would seem to be overpowered things. You're a mere mortal, which is what I think would be quite useful. You're not. It's not going to seem to be too strong, which is good. I think that maybe they might change Tidal Surge ever so slightly, depending on how competitive and strong he's going to be. They may up the power, but I don't think they're going to take away the fact that it knocks back, and I think people shouldn't hope that it will, because I think you'll just get disappointed, because I frankly just don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, I think he's going to be an excellent character. I'm so happy that he seems to be really cool looking, and he has the Kraken, because Poseidon's my favourite god from any kind of mythology. And I was really happy to hear he was going to be in Smite, because I've been waiting for him for ages, and I'm just really happy he's going to be. He's strong. His skin looks amazing. He's the way he moves, sort of like skating on the water, looks amazing. I think it's fantastic, and I just think that it's going to be a good old lot of fun to play as him. Now, there are a couple of other things which are coming in the patch in terms of gods that I thought that we should talk about. Ares has his shackles ability, means that movement speed abilities no longer are usable when players are shackled. So the enemies can't use movement speed abilities. Whether that is a leap and a jump as well, that makes Ares considerably stronger. An Artemis trap, movement speed abilities are no longer usable when players are stuck in the trap, which is really strong. Fields of Love, Cupid's ultimate, movement speed abilities are no longer usable when players in there. Pillar of Agony, the strength to pull from his ultimate has been adjusted to be stronger initially to reduce the frequency of players able to walk out of it. So Hades' ult will be getting stronger, so you will have to do something to walk out of it. You won't be able to be on the edge and just toddle off, because that was unfair, I thought, and I think that's been a while coming, to be fair. Hercules' damage on his driving strike has been increased from 280 at its top level to 365, and the physical power contribution of this ability has been increased from 60% to 90%. So essentially they're making him stronger. Not necessarily a fan of that. I think Hercules is strong enough already. He doesn't need to be able to be... I think they're trying to make him... be as strong as bruisers, like Vamana and Odin. They're trying to make him compete with bruisers. However, I don't think that bruisers really are too strong of an entity. They're absolutely necessary in a competitive environment. And if two characters are necessary, if one of them gets bad and one team gets them, it's a huge advantage. So I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing that Hercules is getting buffed to be competitive with bruisers. I just think bruisers in general are a bad idea. But anyway, Odin's Ring of Spears. Odin is immune to crowd control effects while inside the ring. I thought this was all crowd control effects anyway, but it's not. He didn't have all crowd control effects on anyway. Now, if we go back to the game, because I've completely ignored it, and I've just been talking about Poseidon and the other gods. But essentially, they're putting in the game abilities that will mean that you can't use your movement speed abilities to get away, which I think is interesting, because it means that you can't just go all out with the Sun Wukong and then leap to safety. It's not viable anymore to just do that, which I think is very good, and I think was needed to happen, really. Not putting it on Hades' ultimate was interesting, because I think that Hades' ultimate would be overpowered if it had that ability, and that's the first thing I thought when I saw Poseidon's Whirlpool ability. Maybe on Poseidon's sort of small Whirlpool, but on like a 5-second thing with Hades, doing it on the entire team, not just two people, would have been too strong, I think. So I think they were quite clever not to put it on Hades' ability. But anyway, that I think that it's worthwhile, and I'm glad that they're doing sort of adapting and balancing and making the game better. And I hope that the rest of you sort of agree with me and like that change. If you don't, you can leave a comment. I will reply to any comments directed at me. I'll be happy about that. That's fine. I'd like to talk about the game now. As you've seen, I've been playing with Neith. I've basically been trying to use her number 4 ability to get snipes off and get kills. And the idea that I've come up with playing Neith mid lane is play passively until they overextend. And once they've overextended and have gone too far, you can kill them by either sniping them, stunning them, and then using your number 1 to root them in place, and then unload everything on them, which is what I tend to do. Or be super aggressive and get mana buff at the beginning and go absolutely ham and try and use Spirit Arrow every second to root the crap out of them. As you can see, I went for early Deathbringer because I got to the point where my farm was higher than anyone on the opposing team, so I was able to get Deathbringer. I hit level 20 when most of the opponents were still level 13, which is brilliant for me. I just come in here and do some damage and then run away. The game unfortunately crashed at this point, and by the time I got back into the game, the match had finished and we had won, but I had died. I don't know what I can't exactly remember what the full time score was, but I got a couple of deaths in. But all in all, I thought this was a decent gameplay of Neith in mid lane, and that's where I think she should be played. And I hope that you'll all have enjoyed this and have enjoyed the talking about me and Poseidon and my opinions. If you've got any comments, please rate, comment and subscribe. I'll be very, very happy to talk to you. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you all in the rest of my channel